When Nico Gumi left her role as WNBA president to join Project B, it sent tremors through the league. But the aftershock may come in the form of Caitlin Clark. With negotiations reportedly circling the billion-dollar mark, the women's basketball world is bracing for a potential split down the middle.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Project B isn't playing fair. They're playing for dominance, using Saudi Arabia's virtually unlimited funds to dismantle the WNBA's strongest pillars. The promise isn't just cash. It's equity, global visibility, year-round exposure. And it's all on Clark's table as one of the most powerful athletes in sports right now. If Clark accepts, this won't be remembered as a controversial payday. It will be the moment women's sports stepped into a new economic era. The WNBA's hold over the professional pathway would be irreversibly fractured, and the model of athlete empowerment through competitive bidding could become the new normal. Project B isn't just disrupting, it's defining the... Caitlin Clark just shook the foundation of women's basketball with one signature. A potential billion-dollar deal. Project B. And now, the WNBA is in full panic mode. Let's not downplay this. This isn't a minor shift or a flashy headline that fades in a week. This is a reckoning, a massive, loud, and very public confrontation with the reality the WNBA has been trying to delay for years. The league has survived on legacy and loyalty, but now it's facing something far more dangerous. Competition backed by unlimited cash and a clear plan. That plan? Redefine women's professional basketball, using the world's most marketable player as the catalyst. Project B is not a pipe dream. It's not a maybe one day idea. It's here, it's funded, and it's doing exactly what disruptor leagues are built to do. Snatch the best talent, offer better pay, and force the incumbent to evolve or collapse. Caitlin Clark didn't just accept an offer. She accepted a new reality. Why? Because that reality includes competitive salaries, ownership equity, global exposure, and a schedule that actually respects player health. This is what athletes have been asking for. No, begging for years. And now that someone's offering it, the excuses don't hold up anymore. The WNBA has been vulnerable. The cracks were already there. Players have been heading overseas for better contracts for over a decade. The league's max salaries haven't kept up with the global market. The working conditions have been criticized. The travel, the marketing, the exposure, it's all been held together with passion, not two. Now someone's testing that loyalty, and Caitlin Clark just made it clear which side of the line she's standing on. Her deal reportedly sits at the top of the financial tower the WNBA simply can't reach. Not just millions, but the potential to hit that billion-dollar mark through salary, equity, endorsements, and long-term incentives. It's not a player deal, it's a CEO package. And let's be clear, Saudi money isn't entering women's basketball for charity. This is a long-term play. They've already shown the blueprint with men's football, boxing, and golf. Buy the talent. Break the system. Rebuild it in your image. This isn't a test run. This is a hostile takeover. Project B doesn't want to coexist. It wants to dominate. And Caitlin Clark's signing on makes that goal more real than ever. Her move validates the league. It sends a signal that this isn't just a novelty. It's a viable, powerful alternative. The message to other players? You don't have to settle anymore. You don't have to wait for progress. It's already waiting for you. The WNBA's leadership is facing the one thing it's never had to confront head-on, a serious rival. Not just another overseas team luring players in the offseason. Not just a temporary disruption. A full-fledged challenger with more money, more leverage, and now, more attention. And let's not forget, this all comes after Nico Gumi, the WNBA Players Association president, walked away from the league to join Project B. That was the warning shot. If someone that's central to the league's labor structure jumps ship, it's not just a business move, it's a referendum. Now Clark follows, and suddenly, this isn't just a few isolated moves. It's the beginning of an exodus, a shift in power. And while some will argue this is about greed, the truth is, it's about fairness. For years, women in pro sports have been told to settle, to take pride in growing the game, instead of being paid properly for playing it. That script is tired. And now, players have options that don't require that kind of sacrifice. Project B is offering what the WNBA hasn't, a real path to wealth. Not just financial stability, wealth. Ownership stakes, strategic partnerships, global visibility. That changes everything about how players see themselves and how they're seen. It also changes what fans expect. Because now that there's proof women athletes can command billion-dollar contracts, there's no going back. You can't tell the next Caitlin Clark to be patient. You can't tell rising stars to do it for the culture when someone else is doing it for the check. The WNBA's model, one built on tradition, constrained budgets, and legacy storytelling, doesn't stand a chance unless it adapts immediately. And that's the terrifying part, because adaptation requires money the league doesn't currently have. It requires flexibility in contracts, innovation in branding, strategic shifts in how players are marketed and compensated. It's not just a salary issue, it's a structural issue. Meanwhile, Project B is showing up with all the right tools, a limitless bank account, and an aggressive blueprint. It isn't just offering more, it's offering better. Better pay, better conditions, better leverage. And with that leverage comes power. Caitlin Clark is no longer just the face of women's basketball. She's the face of athlete agency. Her deal shows the world what happens when a player stops waiting for a system to catch up and goes where the system already exists. And the more that players see that model work, the more they'll follow. Because here's the reality. The WNBA can't match a billion-dollar offer. It can't offer global ownership stakes. It can't compete head-to-head on cash. And now, it doesn't even have the monopoly on legitimacy. This is the same playbook we saw with LIV Golf. The PGA thought tradition was enough until it wasn't. Then came the scramble. Then came the damage control. But by the time the dust settled, the landscape was forever changed. Women's basketball is headed down that same path. Project B has flipped the table. And Caitlin Clark just made sure everyone is paying attention. What comes next is chaos. Agents negotiating new terms. Players quietly exploring exits. Fans asking tough questions. Brands making calls. It's already happening. The infrastructure is moving. The narrative is shifting. And the WNBA is left with two options. Evolve fast or watch its stars walk away one by one. Because this isn't about one contract. It's about momentum. And momentum favors the bold. So here we are, a new league with endless money, a stacked roster of influencers, and a billion-dollar contract setting the tone. The WNBA has legacy. Project B has the which one wins? That depends on how the WNBA responds now. But one thing's certain, nothing will ever be the same. And as this new chapter unfolds, we want to know what you think. Did Caitlin Clark just change the game forever? Is Project B the future of women's basketball? Or a risky overreach? Should the WNBA fight back or collaborate? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video if you're riding this wild wave with us. And hit subscribe to stay updated on the biggest sports shakeups happening in real time. Because if you thought women's basketball was heating up before, just wait. This story is only getting... The WNBA was supposed to be untouchable. For over 2 decades, it stood as the gold standard of women's professional basketball. It wasn't perfect, everyone knew that, but it was the league, the dream, the endgame, the final destination for the best players in the world. Until now, because Caitlin Clark just tore that entire reality apart with one pen stroke. The second she agreed to that Project B contract, valued at up to $1 billion, the WNBA lost something it could never get back: exclusivity. Now, it's no longer the only game in town. It's not even the most lucrative one. And that changes everything. This wasn't some slow fade or polite competition creeping up behind the scenes. This was a bombshell dropped directly in the league's backyard. Loud, bold, and strategic. The kind of move that doesn't just turn heads. It resets expectations across the entire sports world. Because let's be clear, this wasn't about the money alone. This was about leverage, ownership, scheduling, infrastructure, global growth. The very foundation of what women's sports can look like when they're funded like they matter. And Project B didn't just knock on the door, it blew it off the hinges. Their pitch to Clark wasn't complicated. It was aggressive, intentional, and impossible to ignore. Not just a contract with life-changing wealth, but an offer that came with equity, investment, influence, a role in shaping the league itself. The kind of deal that men in pro sports have been getting for decades, and women have barely been allowed to dream about. So when Clark said yes, she wasn't just choosing a team, she was choosing a movement. She was aligning herself with a league built for the future, not one stuck managing the past. And the WNBA caught flat-footed, because despite all the signs, the overseas player migrations, the growing frustrations over pay, the gaps in media coverage and sponsorships, the league still leaned on its legacy, still believed players would choose tradition over transformation. But what Caitlin Clark made crystal clear is this: legacy doesn't pay the bills. And why should it? When a new league is offering elite players better compensation, healthier schedules, a global platform, and actual ownership in the thing they're helping build, why should anyone settle? Let's not forget, the current WNBA model has players grinding through exhausting seasons, hopping on commercial flights, and spending off-seasons playing in Turkey or Russia just to make up for the wage gap. These aren't rumors. These are facts, and they've been facts for years. So what Project B is offering isn't some fantasy. It's a correction, and it's long overdue. The impact of this move can't be overstated. Clark was never just a college star. She was a phenomenon. The face of March Madness, the ratings magnet, the jersey seller, the kind of player that moves merchandise, gets brands excited, and makes even casual fans stop scrolling. Losing her to a rival league? That's not just a missed opportunity for the WNBA. That's an existential threat. Because if someone like Clark chooses a new path, why would future superstars not follow? It opens a door that can't be closed. And it's already happening. When Nico Gumoi, the president of the WNBA Players Association, left to join Project B, people raised eyebrows. Now, with Clark in, those eyebrows are permanently arched. This isn't a slow leak. It's a potential flood. Players are watching. Agents are making calls. Sponsors are asking questions. Fans are rethinking their loyalties. Because Clark's decision didn't just validate Project B. It exposed the cracks in the WNBA that everyone already knew were there, but few had the power to address. Now, the league has no choice. The era of underpaying top-tier talent and hoping for loyalty is over. The new era? It's athlete-driven. Money talks. Equity matters. And whoever adapts fastest wins. The WNBA is at a crossroads. It can either radically reimagine how it operates, how it pays, how it empowers, or it can cling to the past and risk becoming irrelevant. Because with Project B offering year-round international play, better compensation, and ownership stakes, the bar has been raised. Permanently. And here's the thing. This doesn't just affect American basketball. This is global. Project B isn't interested in being regional. It wants to dominate globally. And with Saudi backing, it has the money to make that happen. This is a country that gave Cristiano Ronaldo a 9-figure deal just to join a domestic league. They brought LIV Golf to life from scratch. And now they're betting big on women's basketball. Why? Because it's an untapped market with global potential. And now, they've got the marquee name to lead that charge. It's geopolitical, it's economic, and it's strategic. And while that raises valid concerns about soft power and sports washing, issues that should be discussed, the fact remains. Athletes like Clark are no longer operating in a world where the WNBA is their only viable professional home. That monopoly is gone, which means athletes now have choices. They have negotiating power, and they're learning that fast. Caitlin Clark isn't the first domino, but she's the biggest one to fall yet. And now that the floodgates are open, every WNBA player has a decision to make. Do you stay where your jersey number is part of history, or do you go where your bank account has a future? The balance of power has officially shifted. The WNBA can't stall. It can't patch this up with PR statements and nostalgia. It needs a real plan, because what's coming isn't just player exits. It's a reordering of the sport's entire ecosystem. Fans are also at a tipping point. You grow up believing the WNBA is the peak, the dream. But if the best players start leaving, if the brightest stars are overseas or on a different platform, that dream starts to fade. What Caitlin Clark just did was bigger than herself. She exposed the outdated business model the WNBA has been operating on. And now, that model either evolves or it breaks. Because this isn't just about salaries. It's about athlete agency. It's about treating players like investors in the product, not just employees in a system. And that's what Project B is offering. Power, voice, value. And when you've spent your whole life being told to be grateful for the opportunity, and someone finally walks in and says, let's build something together, the decision becomes pretty easy. This is the new normal. Star players taking equity, seeking global expansion, demanding what they're worth, and finally getting it. And if the WNBA can't keep up with that, it might end up as the league that once had all the stars before they figured out they didn't need to stay. Caitlin Clark signing with Project B isn't just a chapter in her story. It's a chapter in the sports story. A moment that people will look back on and say, that's when everything changed. Here's where things get even messy, because while Caitlin Clark signing with Project B sent shockwaves through the women's basketball world, the aftershocks, those are just beginning to ripple through the system. This isn't just about one player switching leagues. It's about the sudden irreversibility of athlete power. Because what Clark just did is expose a truth the WNBA hoped it could keep quiet a little longer. Its model isn't sustainable when players start realizing their true market value. And now, every athlete watching from the sidelines knows exactly what that value looks like, with commas, equity, and international spotlight. You really think it's going to stop at Caitlin Clark? It's not just the fact that she's a generational talent. It's that she's the most visible player in the sport right now. She has the reach, the numbers, the brand deals, the fan base, and most importantly, the leverage. That's what made her the perfect first domino. Not just because she deserves the money, but because the world would pay attention when she took it. And that attention? It's now turning into pressure. Front offices are scrambling. Players still under contract are quietly evaluating their exit timelines. Endorsement managers are trying to map out how Project B's structure could shift the entire sports marketing landscape. Because the second your top-tier athletes are no longer centralized in one league, everything visibility fractures. Ratings follow the talent. Sponsorship dollars go where the buzz is. And Project B, it's engineered to be a magnet for all three. Let's talk about what that means. Project B isn't just offering huge contracts. It's re-engineering the entire athlete experience. Instead of expecting players to grind through 2 seasons a year, WNBA plus international ball, just to hit 6 figures, they're offering a year-round schedule with rest periods built in. Full infrastructure, global travel, real facilities, no charter flight drama, no locker room horror stories. And on top of that, ownership, equity, actual investment in a long-term vision of the which begs the question, why wouldn't someone leave the WNBA? Loyalty only goes so far when the other side is promising a sustainable career and life-changing wealth. The emotional connection to a league, to a fan base, to a legacy, that matters. But at some point, math takes over, and Project B is making the math impossible to ignore. Now look, no one's saying the WNBA is going to disappear tomorrow. It still has its history. It still has some of the best talent on the planet. It still has passionate fans. But if it doesn't pivot fast and hard, it will be left behind. Because Project B isn't just coming for the players. It's coming for the narrative. It wants to be the league that solves the problems the WNBA never could. The league that treated women athletes with the same seriousness, investment, and infrastructure that their male counterparts receive. And with Saudi-backed funding, it can afford to lose money for years while building that empire. The WNBA doesn't have that luxury. It has sponsors, owners, and revenue models to answer to. And that difference? It's huge. Project B doesn't have to play it safe. It can take risks. It can buy legitimacy. It can sign superstars before they even hit their peak. And now, it's proven it can land the biggest name in the game. Let's talk about that for a second, because Clark's choice wasn't reckless. It was strategic. It was a career move and a message, all in one. She saw the offer. She saw the infrastructure. She saw the potential to own a part of the future of the sport, not just play in it. That's the two, and now, that opportunity is going to be dangled in front of every player who's ever felt undervalued. Every rookie who doesn't want to spend their prime years in a league where they make less than their own endorsement deals. Every veteran who's tired of fighting for upgrades in travel and medical support. Clark made it real, and Project B made it lucrative. Meanwhile, the WNBA's response? Radio silence. Vague statements. The usual, we're building something meaningful messaging. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Meaning isn't enough when the players building your legacy are being offered 10x their salary and a piece of the league somewhere else. You can't build something meaningful on a crumbling foundation. So where does this go next? If Project B pulls another major name, say a top 5 scorer or a finals MVP, it will accelerate the shift even further. The league will start to feel hollow at the top. The narrative will flip. Not Project B poached talent, but why couldn't the WNBA hold on to them? And once that perception sets in, it's hard to recover. We've seen it happen before. LIV Golf didn't start with a full tour. It started with a few big names. The PGA laughed, then panicked, then paid out record bonuses to keep players from bolting, and still lost ground. The WNBA is in the same trap right now. It either reinvents itself quickly and aggressively, or it starts writing the same playbook, reaction instead of innovation. But here's the most critical part. This isn't about two leagues competing. It's about the entire structure of women's professional sports being rewritten in real time. Because when Clark signed that deal, she didn't just become richer, she became symbolic. A sign that women athletes no longer have to settle for scraps while being told to be patient. But they don't have to earn their spot at the table while someone else eats. She said no to waiting, and yes to building something else. Now, every athlete watching her is asking the same question. What am I worth? And who's actually willing to pay it? That question is going to haunt the WNBA until they find an answer that can compete with Project B's reality. So the clock is ticking. The league has to decide. Are they going to keep pushing the legacy narrative and hope it still lands? Or are they finally going to meet this moment head-on? With real investment, structural reform, and a commitment to paying their players like the global icons they already are? Because this isn't just about holding on to Caitlin Clark. It's about stopping the next one from walking out the door. Let us know what you think. Has the WNBA been outplayed? Is Project B the future, or a short-term storm that'll fizzle out? Would you stay loyal to legacy, or chase a billion-dollar opportunity? Drop your comments, share the drama, and hit that subscribe button. Because if this is how the war for women's basketball starts, you better believe the next few chapters are going to be even wilder.